everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith, and today, very excited to be kicking off a brand new series here on the channel. This is Rolling on GameFound, and those of you that have been subscribers to the channel for many years will remember I used to do a Rolling on Kickstarter video series as well, where I took you through the Kickstarter platform, focusing on solo and cooperative games of interest to me. That's exactly the premise of what this video series is all about here on GameFound, though. Specifically, as GameFound has grown exponentially over the years, there is a number of great solo and cooperative games landing here on the platform, and I really want to be able to highlight ones of high interest to me, ones that I'm intrigued about and maybe don't know a ton, and some that I've never even heard of before. It's fun to get that conversation started within the community and have that back and forth in the comments. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, right out of the gates, I have to make mention of the fact that this series is sponsored by GameFound, and this is very new for the channel and also very exciting as it presents opportunities for future growth within the channel itself. Now, how is this managed and what does this do in terms of bias or anything else involved in this series of videos? Well, pretty much nothing beyond just actually covering games that land on GameFound. Essentially, the only thing that's set in stone is that I'm sponsored by GameFound. Beyond that, I have no list of games that I need to cover. I have nothing that I need to say, positive or negative or anything in between. It's up to me to pick the projects that are of interest to me, the ones that I think my community will connect with the best, and also pros or cons or whatever I happen to say across any of the campaigns is all my choosing. So there's no control from GameFound whatsoever around what I say in these videos, which makes it very free-flowing and a lot more enjoyable for you guys, while also providing a benefit for me and the channel going forward. So having said all that, it's time to dig into the 4 campaigns that were of real high interest to me at this point in time. We're going to begin things with Uprising, Titans of the First Age. The first project I want to show you guys is Uprising, Curse of the Last Emperor. This comes from Nemesis Games. The name of the campaign on GameFound is Uprising, Titans of the First Age because that's the new expansion that's been added into the reprint for the original content. So if you missed out on the first campaign, this now allows you to pick up everything from that one, plus a new expansion going forward, adding even more into the fray. And there's details on the campaign page in terms of what those elements are. Now, this project currently has a total of really just under $400,000 and well over 2,500 backers with still 12 days left to go, which is really awesome to see. In the first 24, or I should say 48 hours, there's actually a $15 savings and some extra custom acrylic dice that they're throwing into the fray as well. And you'll see on the campaign page that the production value of this one is off the charts. Now, the one thing I'll mention is I recently did an unboxing on the channel. If you want to see that, I'll put a link to it in the top right-hand corner. But basically, that will take you through the components of what was in that first campaign, and obviously I don't have the Titans of the First Age prototype in front of me to show, but I love the standees. They are awesome. Not only are they color-coded extremely well, so when they sit on the table, they gel well together. It's easy to differentiate the different factions between themselves, but they also, there's no minis in this particular one. You'll notice that right out of the gates is that minis are not a thing. It's just standees, and these standees are not just cardboard. So if we continue on down the campaign page, you're going to see a breakdown essentially of the different elements of the game and also praise heaping on from a number of different individuals. There's a section here on why you want to back now. It's not coming to retail. This is an indie publisher, as I mentioned earlier, and of course you're saving money out of the gates by picking it up here. Now, across the rewards, I've taken a look at these myself to see whether I deem that the dollar values are fair for what's being offered. And being that I just recently unboxed the final version of this game, I can tell you 100% that what they're offering here in terms of a cost for each element of whether it be the pledges or any add-ons is very fair and very good. And you're getting good value for your money, not only in its production value, but more so for its replayability going forward. So I think this is a really solid buy. So if you continue on down the list, you then run into tons of stretch goals and everything else and add-ons to just really bolster the game, adding card packs, dice packs, all the things you'd expect. Gameplay is broken out here. So it says here to take on the leadership of one of 10 asymmetric fantasy races. You choose from 20 unique heroes to lead their uprising against a dying empire while also fighting off hordes of chaos. And it's going to mention things about the mechanics and the features of the game and how adjustable it is. But one of the cool things, they do have the rulebook front and center. So if you just want to jump right in, read it to see whether the game, jives with you, that's a really good indicator. Pretty early on, you'll know whether or not this is something for you. And then it just really breaks things out on the campaign page by the different aspects of the game. You're exploring, you're fighting, and you're conquering. You're going to go through quests, and you're going to develop things as you move through with different factions and feats and things like that. And then it gets into the new expansion, which is probably where most people will land as they're scrolling through the different options here on GameFound down the chart. They're going to come to the Titans expansion because this is the newest entry into what's being added. So you're getting 180 components, and they're all ultra premium. You got four new heroes, feat cards, pirate standees as a faction being added in, mercenary standees, and then of course a number of components that intertwine with them. But everything here that I've seen in person looks amazing, so I'm expecting the same level of awesomeness with this new expansion to come in the future. Storage with this game is awesome, gotta mention it because it is. If you see in my unboxing video, these things, the factions are broken into their own boxes and are very easy to keep organized. Plus there's like the actual covers themselves are all have iconography all over them, so you know exactly where things are supposed to go. The rule book for the game is great because it's coil bound, so you can easily fold it over and just keep it small in terms of how much space it takes up on the table. It's not like a typical rule book where you open it up and leave it open. It just wipes out a portion of your gaming space. So I like that. But as you go down, you really just can dig in further and further into what's being offered here. And at a high level for me, I don't play many 4X games at all. It's not like an area or an aspect of board gaming that I really dig into that often, like very rarely. But this one stuck with me. Like I played it and I went, this is special. Like this one's unique, it's special, and it's special because it does such a great job with the production value and it has such a focus on the solo play that it made the whole thing worthwhile package for me. So if you're looking for that, this is absolutely the ticket. So there's videos and everything to give you even more information, beyond just what's on my channel, as well as a number of quotes here. And then it gets into the shipping, of course, and things like that. But that's going to do it for Uprising. Really hope this kind of highlights a project that I've recently covered in a number of videos on the channel, but also gives you the ability to see more details on it here on GameFound. The next project that I want to highlight is Sleeping Gods Distant Skies from Red Raven Games. And those of you that know Red Raven Games know that Ryan Lockett and his wife put a ton of energy into the products that they create. And the game encompasses so many different aspects to bring a board game to life. And Ryan Lockett and his wife basically cover everything. They literally do the artwork on it, the game design, the narrative, like all of it's done kind of in-house or in family. It's crazy how much they do. Definitely got to give them kudos for how much effort and energy they put into their products. And I really think that Sleeping Gods in essence is kind of Ryan Lockett approaches projects similar, kind of like an iterative process where he's had things like Above and Below come out in the past, Near and Far, and each of them kind of takes his design and expands upon it and makes it better, in my opinion, as time goes on. And Sleeping Gods to date is easily the best thing that Ryan Lockett has produced, and you can see his prior projects have really led him to this particular universe that he's created now. And from a solo gamer perspective, it's massive because when you come into a project like this, it's raised over $1,300,000 and has like over almost 9,000 backers and stuff like this with still 13 days left. Like there's a lot to dive into here if you're looking for an epic adventure game. This is going to be it. And the one thing I'll mention though around this when you're playing it from a solo capacity is that you're going to want to have a table that's probably in the 3 foot by 4 foot range, just because this one does sprawl. Like if you're playing it in a solo capacity, you're going to be playing multiple individuals and controlling those individuals. So you're going to need the space around the table to house things. So from a solo play perspective, I think that's the greatest con. There's also a little bit of a con going on with the combat, although I believe that is going to get tweaked and be made better going forward in the future. But also it's not such a big deal in my opinion either. Where this game really draws the love from the community, the solo community, is in its narrative and the sense of adventure and the unknown and finding things and exploring. And that's why I was driven towards it, which is why I gave it such a crazy high rating at the end of last year when Sleeping Gods first landed. I do have content for it on the channel, not a playthrough yet of it, but I do have an unboxing of the original core game if you want to check it out. But this is a beautiful game, and on top of it looking good and playing good from a solo perspective, it also is adding in audio narration from Foreteller. And as you guys mostly know from other projects like Gloomhaven, for example, you've got Foreteller, which is professional audio voiced for the narrative aspects of the game. That is going to be a huge boost rather than having to sit there and read all of the documentation, or not documentation, but all the narrative around the different aspects of gameplay. You're going to have that voice acted, which is going to draw you into the experience even further. So really, if you take a look down here past the pledges, and of which the pricing is all laid out here depending on where you want to go, I would absolutely look at picking up the app aspect of it. Of course, it's included in a couple of these pledge levels, but I always think the Foreteller grab is a worthwhile one because it really does, as a solo player, just immerse you that much further. It's as close to having another person in the room to read the narrative on your behalf, and you can just sit back and enjoy it. And I think that's a big aspect of what Sleeping Gods is about, is the story that's unfolding, that's being told as you explore. And this is just an amazing game from that standpoint. So if you're looking to get lost in an open world, coil-bound book, you're going to be flipping pages, moving through it, flying your airplane to different discovered locations. Of course, this area here anyway, is specific to the Distant Skies expansion itself. So these are going to be new aspects that you wouldn't have seen in Sleeping Gods, and some they're going to share some similarities that way. But it's going to add extra individuals to control, new combat stuff going on, new twists around the combat too. And you can see an exciting twist on the system from Sleeping Gods. So there is a change going on to that combat here. And of course, more gear and everything else, a comic book involved. Like, it just, it makes me so excited to see this back, because I was really impressed by the first iteration, and now they're building on it. There's so much potential around this universe. And I think Ryan Lockett kind of got to the point of kind of, one of his best iterations or best productions to date with this one. So long story short, definitely wanted to highlight this thing. This campaign will continue to detail out all the different aspects that you can dig into further. But as a solo gamer, if you're looking for adventures, look no further than Sleeping Gods Distant Skies. Next up, we have the Great Wall reprint from Awaken Realms, and now this one comes in at 483,000 plus. It has 7 days left. It has almost 4,000 backers. This is just a reprint, so this is literally bringing back a game that already is beloved in the solo community. And what the coolest aspect, I think, for this one is the fact that Awaken Realms' typical design falls on the Ameritrash side of the equation, and usually doesn't dip into the Euro side all that often, although games like this War of Mine and a couple others have Euro aspects for sure, and definitely use kind of a worker placement mentality in their games. But this is the first true worker soldier placement game that Awaken Realms has placed out, and what better of a theme to have created around it, and what better of a job to have done first time out of the gates. This really is a production worth looking at. Now, when you take a look further into the actual campaign itself, it's literally going to be just full of a lot of what you saw in the original campaign around the different clans you can expect to find in the core box, the models, the cards, of course, the wall components that you literally build up, and they have that table presence that will bring everyone to a standstill. If you're playing this thing at the table, people will stop and stare and go, "What is that? That looks awesome." I mean, Awaken Realms is known for having a very eye-catching games. I mean, Nemesis is an eye-catching game. This one takes it to like the next level in terms of having that 3D terrain element with the wall and everything. It just looks so good. Now, something else worth mentioning is inside this campaign, they do something that's called Sundrop. For those that are not familiar with it, this is something that was originally introduced with Lords of Hellas. Now, it was kind of their first kick at the can, and that one wasn't all that great, to be honest. I have it myself, and I was kind of like, it looks kind of bad. Nemesis then implemented it next, and it became much, much better. And then every iteration after that, Sundrop got better and better and better. Now, again, if you're a painter, you'll sit there and say, man, it's not as good as actually doing it yourself. And you're probably true. you're probably right. It'll be much better to sit down and do it yourself. But for those people like myself that don't have the time to paint, or individuals who just don't want to paint or spend any time painting, just want to jump to the table and have it look good right away, the ability to basically dive in and have a game full of color out of the gates, even if it's just shading, is a huge win. So I would recommend, if you want the game to have even more table presence than it already has, the sun drop is pretty cool aspect. Now, I personally get it across all the games I pick up from Awakened Realms, but that's when I pick up games from them. And this is one that just like jumped out at me because of the fact that it had that Euro element that I just hadn't seen from them yet. And now that I know that it's possible, it kind of opens up the realm for more of these thematic, Ameritrash Euro blends, or just straight Euro games from Awakened Realms, which excites me because, to me, like, a great Euro game needs to have a fantastic theme. And so for me to really be pulled into it, I want the theme to be front and center, not the actual the management of the system or engine that you're trying to create. But this one really, really gels it perfectly in terms of like that Ameritrash look, but this is through and through a Euro game. So scrolling on down through, tons more videos to kind of dig into further. The game, again, looks great on the table, plays wonderful, and as a solo gamer, you will get lost in this one and really enjoy it over and over and over again. So this is one I wanted to highlight 100%. Next up is Assault on Doomrock Ultimate Edition. This one returns, and BD Games is behind this one. A lot of people will know this one from prior iterations in the past. The Ultimate Edition looks to take what was known from the past and bolster it, add to it, update it, whether it be rules, additional content, and the like. This is one that I've done a recent playthrough or preview on the channel for. Definitely recommend you check it out. The campaign is currently up, 146,000, 12 days left, and over 1,000 backers. This one is looking to basically bolster an existing game that's loved by the solo community, and I definitely recommend you to keep your eyes on this one as well. So we take a look at the screen here. You're seeing a number of different illustrations across cards and tokens and everything else. The game almost has a small kind of similarity in terms of how it handles battles to Too Many Bones, but does it in such a completely different and unique way that really makes it stand out on its own. The combat's resolved very differently. And you have this really epic adventure you're going on while also having these kind of standalone battles. So you're kind of like working through different terrain elements and then jumping into a battle and then back and forth as you move through. Now, when I played this game myself here on the channel, I really enjoyed my time with it. I had a preview copy of the game, dug in as much as I possibly could, filmed it, put it out for everybody to see, to give you guys an informed idea as to how it plays now in this ultimate form. But you'll see that these rewards stretch across whether you want to keep things simple or to the maximum level, whether you want like neoprene mats and tokens and everything else in between. You can really up the game on this one. Plus, what's also cool about the Ultimate Edition is it really is adding a bunch of kind of almost like modifications to the major game, where you can kind of add in different modules to kind of enhance the experience beyond what it was or is. And that's really cool because that gives you flexibility on the replayability side of things to say, well, I've played the core and I've done this, that, and the other thing in terms of how the rules are written out. But now I really want to add this module or this side thing just to kind of amp the game up a little bit and add a little bit of a difference in there. You'll see here things are broken. Of course, you can pick up the poker chips, the battle mat, everything else in between as a separate item if you wish. And then you got the box content of everything that's going to be broken out inside. You're going to have party markers, 20 playable heroes. Now in the preview copy I had, I think I had like 6 or 7, maybe 8. So there wasn't a ton to see, but in the final one, you're going to have a lot more to choose from, making each of the unique abilities that much more exciting to play with across the heroes. You do have the gender option here to flipping the card going either way. You have your traits cards here. You have your level up abilities. You have items galore, epic items involved, and then of course battles. And the individuals I ended up fighting in my preview were actually quite funny. I think I had exploding tomatoes in one of them. That was quite comical because they're blowing each other up and you're trying to guess which ones are going to cause you grief, which ones aren't. And then you just keep on moving down with all these different components that are buried inside of this one. These are the modular expansions I was talking about earlier. So here's like where you can add in terrain to the battle. So you've mastered kind of the typical battle and you want to say, you know what, let's throw some terrain into the mix and now make use of that in terms of tactical options. Now you've got that mixed in. You want pets. Now you've got pets mixed in. You want overpowered traits. There you go. And this is what's really, in the custom dice edition, actually I used this during the preview. This was really cool because it just takes the simplistic nature of the regular dice and adds more layers on top of it by using the custom dice. So that was really cool to see. Of course, when you're playing in a solo capacity, which is what I'm speaking to here, the solo mode, Goon, is what you're going to be using, and you saw that in my preview as well. And then it just dives into the add-ons around the promo deck and everything else that's coming with it. So this campaign has all kinds of information, all kinds of videos and moving images to show you what you can expect on this one, plus a ton of videos. There's my preview right there. You can go check out if you wish, and the shipping costs all labeled out. The final entry for the list, a last-minute addition here for Northwood. Sideroom Games publishing this one and has over 1,700 backers, $34,000, and 3 days left. When this video goes live, there might not be that many days left. There still should be time. It's a 20-minute playing, trick-taking solo game. So this is worth mentioning as it definitely plays solo. You can see the objective of the game is labeled out right here. And you'll see it says you're going to be visiting 8 of the Northwood's adorable rulers. You're trying to win them over to your side, and you're using your allies' awesome powers of dialogue in order to do so. Now, this thing, as it mentioned earlier, it won a bunch of awards across BGG, which is really exciting. And it's always cool to see these smaller projects kind of rise up out of the rough, because some of them start so small that not many people know about them, and then they start winning some awards, and it's worth pushing them further. And this certainly could be one of them. Now, I haven't played this in any capacity to know whether or not this game is a fit even for me, but I thought it'd be worth highlighting this game for you guys, for those of you that might be interested in the theme, artwork, game design, or just trick-taking in general. There's a lot of people that love that style of gameplay. So here's a lot of different videos inside the campaign showing you how all the aspects and the mechanics within the game work and operate, and of course lots of individuals that have actually played the game and what they think of it. The rewards here in total, I mean, even if you're taking a chance on this one, it's not an expensive game, so that's a plus. And there's also the ability to add on some other games that are more well-known as they've already released into the fray. So you have some options there to dump in. And then, of course, it allows you to actually go ahead and try the game. You have the rules there, the print and play files, so you can go ahead and actually give it a shot if you don't get enough out of any of the previews that are currently out there. And that's about it. Overall, the industry seems to be picking up steam again in the crowdfunding space, and it's really exciting to kind of be getting back to these, series of videos that cover solo and cooperative games with you guys, just to really get an opinion, to share my opinion, but then to also get your opinion on the projects I've specifically highlighted, because some of them might be of high interest, some of them may be of low interest or no interest, and some you may be very much on the fence with and still kind of looking for more to determine whether it's the right fit for you. But I hope these videos help you in that. And it's worth mentioning, even beyond this video, you can see 700 projects currently on GameFound. So again, I am not going to, inside of this series of videos, be touching on every single solo game. So that's another thing I'd love for you guys to do in the comments, is if there's another game on GameFound that you are really interested in or believe that I should take a closer look at, definitely mention it in the comments below. And this will not only help out me, but it also helps out other individuals that are playing solo to look out for other projects of interest. Now, that can be things that are currently open on GameFound, or it could be things that are upcoming in the near future as well. Now, the upcoming ones will have, maybe more limited information, but there are some popping up here, like Euthea, for instance. I covered this one in full here on the channel. Coming in 4 days. It's going to be a big one, and that'll be one that'll be really interesting to dig into further, and is very, very well designed with more to come for it. So, long story short, thank you guys so much for watching this from start to finish. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, you are a champion, and I really hope that this series is going to open up the discussion on projects on GameFound and also point you to a number that I'm personally jumping in on and looking forward to in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.